What is up, everybody? It is Sam here with BFPGear.com, and today we've got not one, but two harnesses here from Infamous/ProDNA. We've got ourselves the Lockdown Harness, and we also have ourselves the Overlord Harness, which not to be confused with Overload, because that happened to us. Just to go over price points really quick, the Lockdown Harness is going to be the cheaper option at $79.95, at least at the time of this video being recorded, and the Overlord will be $99.95. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at these harnesses, show you what's new with Infamous, and show you what's different about these, and well, you can decide from there which one you want to get. So we're going to see you after the intro. So here I have the Lockdown Harness. This is going to be the cheaper option between the two harnesses that you've seen. And this is going to be, honestly, the first Infamous pod pack that is a strapped harness, which is really cool. So I'm curious to see what they're doing that might be a little bit different from everybody else and what justifies this $79.95 price point. Pod capacity on this one is going to be a 4+5, so you're going to have your 4 main sleeves here, and then you're going to have 5 extra ones, 3 in between, and then 2 more on the sides here. So having a 9 pod capacity is pretty good, but I feel like the standard bread and butter is a 4+7, so maybe sometime in the future we will see a 4+7. They do come in a handful of different colors, and they are pretty stylish. Honestly, like this gray one here, I really like the hex pattern that's got going on here. And of course, ProDNA, you gotta brand your stuff out. So, but when it comes to the harness itself, it does have some features that are not traditionally found on other strapped pod packs. First and foremost, the one thing that I noticed right away is going to be these really long pod straps. These are a lot longer than other pod straps, which means when you're reaching behind your back to grab a pod, it's going to be a lot easier to get your hands on a pod strap that's up further up the pod sleeve versus it being lower, because then there's less point of contact with it. And then in doing so, of course, when you unstrap it, the pod does come out just a little bit from the elastic injector, but when it comes to these standard size pods here, they slide in and out pretty dang easy. Moving over to the other side of the pod pack here, this does use the bread and butter formula of Infamous's Reflex Harness, Reflex Belt, I should say, as they call it. And what that is instead of there just being 4 elastic straps, you have 6 instead. And what that does is it means you have an extra secure and tight fit with your pod harness on your waist. And this is going to help eliminate any kind of like bounce or any kind of wiggle or shake or anything like that while the pod pack's on you. The other thing that really helps with that too, and it's going to get loud here real quick, is not just these 6 straps here, but you're also going to get, and this is something that I think is really cool, is you actually have this back pad here. So this back pad is this anti-slip material, and it's going to make it so that this thing doesn't move side to side on you whenever you're, running, jumping, diving, that kind of thing. And the other nice thing about it is that it's also removable, so you literally just Velcro it off, and now you've got this back pad that you can wash up, clean up if you want to, or if you don't like having the back pad, you can just remove it entirely. So overall, with this Lockdown harness, I think the only gripe that I really have with it is just going to be the fact that it only carries 9 pods, but honestly, all for the back pad, and I'm only saying that because I'm an old man now and I need lumbar support whenever I'm going to go jump, slide, dive. So I already think that this is like a banger of a product, but now we need to look at its bigger brother that just came out, and that is the Overlord Harness. All right. So now that we've put the Lockdown Harness away, we now have the Overlord Harness, not to be confused with Overload, because again, it's happened to us a few times already. But the Overlord Harness is the newest strapless iteration from Infamous, and it's got this extra band on the outside that you can see right here, And this band does a couple of things for you when you're wearing this thing. So number one, when you flip this over, you can see that this is the actual strap from the outside here as it just comes off. And this is just gonna help secure the pod pack to your waist even more, which means combining this Overlord strap with that Reflex belt, not only do you have the 6 straps, but you also have 2 additional ones to tighten this down, which is a lot of straps to tighten around your body, but then you already know for sure that once you load this thing up with a bunch of pods and paint, these pods are not going to move at all. The Overlord strap also has another function and feature, which is when you have your pods here with the strap, every time you pull a pod, it's going to compress down. And every time it compresses down, it's going to minimize the profile that you can get shot at on your waist. So I took out those 3 pods there, and now you can see it's a lot thinner. Same thing with the pods that you can put off to the sides here. Once you pull one of these bad boys, it's just gonna slim down even more. And then while this is attached to your body, right now it's just loose, but when it's attached to your body, it just tightens it down and lowers that surface area. The other nice thing about this is obviously it's strapless. So those main pod sleeves that are right here at these clear pods, all you gotta do is just you pull and the pod comes out without a problem. Now the nice thing about the Overlord harness versus the lockdown harness is that this is a 4+7 pod pack, which I'm a huge fan of because you never know when you're gonna need more than 7, 8, 9 pods. And if that's the case, you're gonna want one of these. Moving it over to this side here, once you undo all of these Velcro straps on the Reflex belt, which will get a little loud again. Once you uncover all of this stuff, this is where my favorite feature comes into play, and it's gonna be the back pad here. This back pad is anti-slip material, and it is nice and cushy and soft, so that way it provides a little bit of extra support to your lumbar, because again, I'm an old man, I need this whenever I go out and play, or else I am not gonna be getting up in like the next 2-3 hours after I'm done playing. The Overlord harnesses do come in a handful of different styles, and these are starting out at $99.95. And there you have it. The new Infamous Pro DNA harnesses. You got the lockdown, the strapped harness, that is a 4+5, and then you're gonna have the Overlord, that is a 4+7, the newest in their strapless harness line. I think both of these harnesses are really awesome, and it's gonna give you a lot of amazing budget options to work with, because the other 2 harnesses that they have available are actually more expensive than both of these harnesses. So with 4 different price points and 4 different harnesses that have 4 different features to them, I think this is a really good starting place, especially for $79.95 and some really cool designs. And then this is a great one for $99.95. And again, great designs. If you are interested in picking up a new Infamous lockdown or Overlord harness, well, I think you know exactly where to go, and that is BFPGear.com.